My purpose here today is to invite the public to discuss potential transit service concepts that we and our consultants have been working on over the past 6 months. We've held a number of stakeholder meetings. We've conducted a statistically valid survey, and we've utilized social media to provide citizen engagement into this particular process. We are going to have 4 open house meetings to discuss the concepts for future transit service that have been developed by our consultants. The meetings will take place today at 3 to 4:30 and 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Wichita Public Library Rockwell branch, which is located at 5939 East 9th Street in Wichita, and tomorrow from 3:30 to 4:30, and also from 5:30 to 7 in the evening, we'll have open house meetings at the Wichita Transit main facility, and it's our van maintenance facility located at 777 East Waterman, just south of the arena. If you cannot attend either of those days of public open house meetings, you can visit our transittalks.com website, which will be open now through March 16th. In the website, you can review the 4 scenarios that have been developed for future transit service. You can vote on your preference of the one that you feel is most suitable, or the one that you feel would be best for the city. If you participate, we do have prizes that we are going to be giving out after the close of the transittalks.com website on March 16th. Those prizes would include rounds of golf on public golf courses, tennis lessons through the Wichita Tennis, and bus passes as well. We've had now over 3,200 visits to our transittalks.com website. There have been over 2,000 unique visitors, and we do have over 170 active signed-up participants that weighed in and provided new ideas for transit and some of their own opinions about where transit is and where transit should go. The scenarios are also available on our Wichita transit.org website, our main website, for review. Those 4 scenarios for future transit include a look at where transit would be 5 years from now if transit funding remains static. The second scenario would be a streamlined route system based on performance of the existing system. It would be a hub and spoke system, but it would be streamlined. That would cost a little bit more than what our budget is currently. The third scenario is a grid system, and it's a system that was put together based on the input that we have gathered from our surveys and stakeholder meetings. And that one included all the citizen input, and it would be a much more expanded and robust system than we have currently. And the fourth one is a scenario that would look at extending our services to outlying areas and more or less regionalizing our service. These 4 concepts will be presented to the City Council and Council Workshop on March 27th for their discussion and consideration. This is the most important time for transit that we've had since transit's been operated by the public sector. We need citizen input to help shape our future, and I encourage everyone to either attend the meetings or to weigh in on transittalks.com and vote or provide their opinion on the scenarios that they feel would best suit Wichita. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
These four scenarios, are they all still dealing with buses only, and that's all, or is it a possibility of rail or what?
At this point in time, it's dealing with buses. There's a potential development of what's called a bus rapid transit line that would operate on Douglas between Town East through downtown to Town West and ultimately to the airport. That's something that we would have to look into further and make sure that ridership would warrant that level of service. It's much like a light rail service, but it's utilizing articulated and a different type of bus that we currently have.
You don't have anything like that right now, and as far as speed transit between those points?
No, we do not. No, we do
Is that, I mean, has that been looked at before yet?
We've discussed that possibility, and that possibility was brought up in the downtown master plan for the near-term future growth of downtown. Once some of those new projects have been established, the consultants in that study did recommend a bus rapid transit or BRT line for Douglas.
So you haven't necessarily done numbers of people who might use that?
Not at this point. We're just trying to maintain our current system at this point.
What's your best estimate for the number of daily riders?
The number of daily riders that we have currently ranges anywhere from 7,000 to 8,000 on a typical weekday, and about 4,000 to 5,000 on Saturdays.
Have your consultants done rider flow studies on what seem to be the most commonly used routes or needed routes?
Yes, they have.
Is that part of all of this?
They've looked at our operating statistics. They've looked at the demographics of the city. And again, we've conducted a number of stakeholder meetings and a citywide statistically valid survey to provide them with the information they need to develop these scenarios.
Is there a feeling, Mike, that the bulk of these kinds of conceptual changes, is this going to have to come from taxpayer funding through the city, or is this going to have to come from the riders themselves, or a combination?
Well, currently, typically fares only cover about 20% of our operating cost. The remainder of the operating costs are provided by the city. We get some funding from KDOT through the state, and we have our federal funds through the Federal Transit Administration, which helps pay for planning activities, maintenance of our assets, and capital for capital purchases. So any future scenarios we'd have to try to determine the most appropriate funding source to do that. I don't believe that based on current city budget, that there's any more room in the city budget to provide any expanded support for transit at this point.
Last time you were here, you said there was a gasoline price above which ridership seems to take a distinct jump. There's estimates that the gas prices could reach $4 or higher this summer. Do you anticipate a corresponding increase in ridership this summer then?
Well, the last time gas prices hit $4 was in 2008. And in 2008, we experienced a 15% increase in our ridership. It was a very substantial increase in ridership. Should gas prices go over $4 again, I would anticipate that we would see a similar ridership demand.
Might that play or factor into these discussions or the options that are ultimately chosen, given the cycles or the surges and then slowdowns again when gas prices drop again? How does that play into this?
We typically have to gear up our services, the size of vehicles, and so forth based on peak demands. Assuming gas prices go up and they stay up, we'll have to gear up for that level of demand. In Wichita, we do have a abnormally low level of service for a city our size. back in 1995 when the feds discontinued providing operating assistance to transit systems. Most transit systems at that point in time were facing cuts of up to a third of their services. In many places across the country, there were alternative funding mechanisms that were put in place, including sales tax, gasoline tax, and those types of things that support continuing the level of service prior to the feds discontinuing their operating assistance. In Wichita, we did have to cut 1/3 of our service. So our service right now looks a third less than what it did in 1995, and we're still trying to recover from that, if you will. We will not be able to increase service or to provide any support for these additional scenarios unless a new revenue stream is identified. And that's something that the City Council will have to address. The mayor in his State of the City address did point out that funding of transit is one of the main issues for 2012 that the City Council will have to wrestle with. So we're hoping that something can be done throughout this year to identify a new revenue stream to support an expanded level of transit and a level that would be appropriate for a city our size.
Because this has been talked about in the city for a long, long time about really how bad the transit service is in the city of Wichita. How confident are you that a new revenue stream will happen?
Well, typically when you expand services, you start to pull in other riders. As you make services more convenient and more competitive with the automobile, you will see substantial ridership gains. Again, ridership will not pay for the additional services alone, but for cities typically our size, ridership should be quite a bit higher than what we currently have. Our annual ridership is a little over 2 million rides a year that we provide on buses alone. And that level of ridership is not that much more than the city of Topeka's has right now. Topeka does provide a much higher level of tax support for their transit system, so they are able to operate until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and also on Sundays where we do not do that. So we're hoping that we can address the needs of all citizens that need to utilize public transportation to get to work, recreational functions, medical appointments, and so forth. And right now we do cut our service off at about 6:30 in the evening, so it's we're not providing really any support for those second or third shift workers.
Your scenario on regional service, how far out does that go beyond Wichita?
It goes out to outlying areas, City of Mays, Goddard, Augusta. It's not that regional at this point, but assuming we take care of the service needs that we have in the city, we would hope that other cities would participate in the support for commuter express type services that would come in from outlying areas. That's typically what happens in cities our size or better.
Augusta? I just want to make sure you're accurate on
Right.
Augusta, not Andover?
Well, Andover,
I mean,
Augusta.
Okay.
the
Augusta's pretty far out. I just wanted to make sure.
Not Newton.
We've looked at Newton. We've studied that in earlier studies. That is always a possibility. The last time we did a survey out in Newton, there were 700 first shift workers that would drive in every day from Newton just to the aircraft companies. So an express bus service that might operate during peak hours would certainly look to be feasible. But again, we need to address what our needs are in the city first, and then we hope that those outlying areas will participate. When gas prices go up, or when they did go up in 2008, we fielded calls from some of those outlying areas. There was a lot of concern from those outlying cities that they were going to lose their population because of gas prices, and workers that live out in those areas and work in the city would have to think hard about moving to the city in order to be able to maintain their own expense budgets.
How come pardon me, how come Wichita doesn't have a light rail service? I mean, we're a metro population of over 500,000 people, and we don't have light rail.
Yeah, we certainly don't. The last time we had any kind of rail service was prior to the 1950s, when we were running rail trolleys in the community. During the 1950s, Wichita was half the population, but ridership was extremely high in comparison to this year or this past year, where we provided a little over 2 million trips. In the 1950s, public transportation provided anywhere between 14 to 15 million trips in a city half our size. So it just depends on the amount of funding that's available to provide the service and the demand for the service. And as gas prices go up, we're going to see that demand go up, and we really need to be poised and ready to meet that demand.